Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about how to scan for vulnerabilities in Microsoft SQL Server database. To do that, we need to launch our Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio and connect our database. I'll click on connect here, select database engine, and then click on connect. Now, once our database has been connected, what we need to do is to select the database we want to run the vulnerability scan on. So I'll expand on my databases, and then here I'm going to use db123 underscore term database. What I'll do here is to right click on the database, go to task, click on task, and then you select vulnerability assessment. And then once you select it, you see scan for vulnerabilities and open existing scan. So I'll go for scan for vulnerabilities. I'll click on it, and then you'll see specify where scan should be saved. Here I'll leave it on default, and then click OK for the scan to OK. Now my scan is done and it has been saved in the folder, the location as specified. Now let's look at the dashboard. Here we have the vulnerability assessment result. You can export it to your Excel, right, as a report. And then here we have, let's look at, we have total failing checks. So after the scan, we had two security failures, and then we have total passing checks, which is 33. So let's look at we have high risk is 0, medium risk is 2. So it tells us the failure is medium risk, which we need to resolve. We have low risk 0. And then here we have, it stays here, the same thing here. We have the ID. So that's vulnerability assessment 1143. Vulnerability assessment 1219. We have the category, which is surface area reduction. The risk level is medium. Both risk level are medium. We don't have any additional information. Now, to know the description or the full details of the security failure, what you need to do, or the vulnerability, is to click on the security check. And then when you scroll down here, you have the name, which is the database owner user should not be used for normal service operation, right? So we have the risk level medium, the status is fail. We have a brief or detailed description of the security failure or the vulnerability. We have the impact, what is going to be the negative effect if we leave it as it is without resolving the situation. We have a query rule here, which you can copy, put in AI ChatGPT, and you have a full meaning, full explanation of it. We have Microsoft recommendation. You can set your baseline. Here we have the remediation, which is create users with low privilege to access the database and any database stored in it with appropriate set of permissions. So here it tells us that we don't have any database user created. The only user that this database has is the database owner, which is very because the database owner has administrative privileges which we cannot be using. So what we need to do to rectify this vulnerability is to create a user with least privileges. And then also we have this. So let's try to solve this vulnerability. Now I'll go back to my database, which is the DB123. Let's see whether it has any user. So I'll expand it and then go to security under the database. I'll expand security and go to users here. Right click. So what I'll do is I'll open it, double click it, and then you see here we have no user. The only user active here is the database owner. Guest has been disabled. So now what we need to do is to create a user in this database. To do that, you need to go to your server level. You see security under the server level. So we are going to create a login first. So I'll right click security. On logins, I'll right click and create a new login. What I'll do is I'll name the login Mary, right? And then I'll select SQL Server Authentication here. I'll put in my password. Always remember to put strong password. Once our password is done, I'll uncheck this bug, which is enforce password policy. But when you are working in a production environment, you need to make sure it is being checked for security reasons. So I'll click OK. Now my login has been created. Let's check. You can see login Mary. Now let's go to the database, which is the DB12310, and create a user under it. So under the data, I'll expand it. Go to security under the database level, expand it, and then the first one, which is users, I'll right click users, create a new user. So user type, SQL user with login. I'll leave it on that, and then I'll use the same name, Mary. Here, the login name, you can type in the name if you remember, which is Mary, or you click on this and then you just type Mary, or you click on objects. You can click on objects here, logins. Okay, so I'll click OK, and then you search for the name Mary. Check name. We already have a login called Mary, so I'll click on OK, and then the default schema. Here, let's try to select a schema that is have with a low privilege. So I'll make sure this user has a permission of data reader. So the only thing this user can do is to read data. It cannot change or write data. So I'll click OK here, click OK. Okay, that's all I'll do here. So now we have a user created under this database. Now what we need to do is to run another vulnerability scan on the same database. Remember, we had from the first vulnerability scan, we had two failures, which one is DBO user. So now let's see whether we still have this problem. What I'll do is to go to tax, click on vulnerability assessment, scan for vulnerabilities. I'll leave it as default, and click OK. Now you can see we've solved that vulnerability. We have it no more. So we have reduced the security risk of this database on this database. Now we have total passing check, which is 34. So the same thing we can run, we can solve this by enabling transparent data encryption on this database. That's a simple way of scanning for vulnerabilities and how to resolve them. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe and like, comment, and share for more. I'll see you in the next video.